I wanted a son. Those words cost me everything, and I mean everything. My name is Imani Okafor, and this is the story of how the man I loved destroyed our family in one night, how 3 extraordinary women helped me build something beautiful from the ruins, and how fate cruelly snatched it all away just when happiness seemed within reach. It was 10:15 p.m. when Demetrius came home with eyes I'd never seen before, cold, distant, foreign. My eldest daughter Zenobia was 13, and my triplets Calliope, Azalea, and Serafina were just 10 years old, upstairs doing homework, when he burst through our door like a stranger. "Pack your things. All of you, tonight." After 15 years of marriage, I thought it was a cruel joke, but then I saw 3 suitcases by the door and heard an engine idling outside. My blood turned to ice. "Demetrius, what's happening?" He turned to me with eyes that froze the air between us. I said, "Pack, Imani. You and those girls need to leave, now." Rain hammered our windows like angry fists. Nothing prepared me for his next words. "Why?" I whispered, my heart shattering. "What did we do?" He laughed. Actually laughed. "You gave me 4 daughters, Imani. 4. Not 1 son to carry my name. You failed me as a wife." Before we continue, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Comment your location so I know where you're watching from. What happens next will devastate you in ways you cannot imagine. I stood frozen, watching this stranger wearing my husband's face destroy everything. But the nightmare was only beginning. The girls are asleep. It's pouring rain. Where are we supposed to go? Footsteps on the stairs. Zenobia appeared first, terror on her face, followed by my 3 10-year-olds looking absolutely petrified. "Mommy, what's wrong?" Zenobia's voice trembled. Demetrius stared at his daughters and said coldly, "Go pack. You're leaving with your mother." Calliope burst into tears. "Daddy, why? What did we do?" "You were born female. That's your crime." I pulled my babies close, but the damage was done. These innocent children were learning their father saw them as failures because of their gender. "Please, let us stay until morning." "No." Then he did something that haunts me still. He opened the door. Standing in the torrential rain was a woman with 3 boys. 3 boys, unmistakably Demetrius's. She held an infant, maybe 6 weeks old. 2 other boys stood beside her, one around 11, another about 5. All drenched, but wearing triumphant smiles. "Girls," Demetrius announced, "meet Celestine and my sons. This is their home now." The ground disappeared beneath me. I gripped the doorframe to stay standing. "How long?" I stared at the 11-year-old, who was clearly his. "How long have you been lying?" 11 years, he said without shame. "Celestine gave me 3 sons, Imani. That's what a real woman does." 11 years of lies. 11 years of betrayal while I thought we had a loving marriage. My daughters sobbed, clinging to me as their world collapsed. Zenobia, my brave 13-year-old, looked at her father with devastating disappointment. "Where will we sleep tonight, Daddy?" He shrugged. "That's your mother's problem." I made a decision then. I refused to beg anymore. I refused to grovel before someone who could look at his children with such coldness. "Girls, get your coats, we're leaving." "But Mama, where are we going?" Azalea whimpered. "To Grandma's house." 20 minutes later, I loaded 4 crying daughters into my car in pouring rain, while Celestine and her boys watched from the warm house that used to be our home, where my babies had taken first steps, celebrated birthdays, felt safe. I called my mother from the car, hands shaking. "Mama, I need to come home with the girls." My mother, Odette Okafor, didn't ask questions. "Come home, baby, just come home." At 38, I was suddenly a single mother of 4 with no job, no savings, nowhere to live except my mother's small 2-bedroom house. Mama was waiting with towels and hot cocoa. She settled the girls while I broke down in her kitchen. "He threw us out like we were nothing, Mama." She held me tight. "Baby, this isn't about you failing as a woman. This is about him failing as a man. You gave that man 4 beautiful children. If he can't see the blessing, he doesn't deserve you." The following weeks were brutal. I explained to my daughters why they couldn't return to their school, why they shared rooms at grandma's, why daddy didn't want them anymore. The worst part was watching Zenobia try to be strong while her own heart broke. I'd find her crying in the bathroom. "It's my fault, isn't it, Mama? If I'd been a boy, Daddy would have kept us." How do you explain that her father valued boys over girls? How do you make sense of something that makes no sense? No, baby. This is not your fault. You girls are perfect exactly as you are. But she didn't believe me. They thought they'd failed by being born female. That broke my heart more than anything Demetrius had done. 3 weeks later, pressure came from our church. People who'd known me for years suddenly treated me like I'd destroyed my family. They suggested I should fight for my marriage, that maybe I hadn't been submissive enough. After a particularly painful Sunday, Mama announced, "We're not going back there." "Mama, you've been at that church 25 years, and I'll find one where my family is treated with respect. Nobody talks about my family that way." We found Pastor Kwame the next week. His congregation embraced us without judgment. But finding a church didn't solve our financial crisis. Mama lived on Social Security, and feeding 5 extra people stretched everything. Then Mama did something that still brings tears. She gave me her entire retirement savings. "Start a business, something you can do from home." I started catering. For 6 months, I poured everything into it. But Houston's a huge city with fierce competition. One by one, clients disappeared. The money was gone. The night I told Mama I'd lost everything, her retirement, her security, I felt lower than ever. "I'm so sorry, Mama." She just held me. "Money comes and goes, baby. Family is forever. We'll figure this out." We were barely surviving when Linnea Voss entered our lives like an angel. I was loading boxes, preparing to move to a dangerous apartment we could barely afford when Linnea pulled up in a stunning car. "Odette Okafor, is that you?" Mama's face lit up. "Linnea Voss, look at you." Linnea had achieved extraordinary success. Real estate investments, consulting business. When Mama explained our situation, Linnea went quiet. Then she looked at me. "You don't need to move. Come stay with me. I have a 4-bedroom guest house sitting empty." "I can't accept charity. You're accepting help from someone who understands struggle. And I've known your mother since childhood. That makes you family." That afternoon, we moved into Linnea's beautiful guest house. The girls each had their own room. Linnea invited us to dinner every night, genuinely enjoying our company. "I've been alone too long," she said. "You make this feel like home." Linnea became my mentor. "You're trying to do everything alone, Imani. You're so afraid of being a burden, you're not letting people help you succeed." She was right. "Let's start a food business together," Linnea proposed. "But this time, we'll do it right. Small start, build gradually. I'll provide capital. You and your mother provide talent. We'll build something sustainable." We started with a farmer's market stand, selling Mama's soul food recipes. Linnea handled business permits. Mama and I perfected recipes. The girls helped set up. Our first Saturday, I was terrified. But Mama told stories about her recipes, making everyone feel like family. Linnea worked the crowd brilliantly. By noon, we'd sold out. "This is just the beginning," Linnea said. Word spread fast. Within a month, we had regulars. Within 3 months, we sold out every Saturday. For the first time since Demetrius threw us out, we were thriving, building something that was ours, something nobody could take away. 3 women lifting each other up, proving women supporting women could create miracles. By year's end, we expanded into catering. Our reputation from the market meant clients trusted us. Within months, we were booking events every weekend. Zenobia, now 15, talked about studying business in college. The triplets each found roles. Calliope greeted customers. Azalia handled presentation. Serafina improved recipes. "You're learning skills for life," Linnea told them. "Success comes from hard work, persistence, and treating people with respect." Linnea taught my daughters what I couldn't alone, about investing, goal setting, believing in themselves. She showed them what successful, independent, happy women looked like. By year 2, we'd outgrown the market. Linnea suggested opening a restaurant. I found a small space downtown. We could serve lunch and use it as our catering headquarters. We named it Three Women's Kitchen, honoring 3 women who came together and created something beautiful. The restaurant opened 6 months later to overwhelming success. All our market customers came, plus dozens more. Zenobia, now 16, worked the register. Customers commented on how professional she was. "That's Odette Okafor's granddaughter. Good family, good values." My daughters weren't known as Demetrius Okafor's throwaway children. They were the Okafor girls who work hard and treat people right. The triplets, now 13, balanced school and work perfectly. Their grades excellent. They'd learned they were valuable, capable, deserving of respect. "Mama," Azalea said one evening, "I'm glad Daddy kicked us out." I was shocked. "Why would you say that?" "Because otherwise we wouldn't have Grandma helping us daily, Miss Linnea teaching us business, this restaurant. We wouldn't know how strong we are." My 13-year-old had articulated what I was just understanding. Demetrius throwing us out was the worst thing that happened, and the beginning of something beautiful. 3 years in, Linnea announced she'd met someone, Thaddeus Lang, and he'd proposed. After their wedding, they adopted 2 siblings from foster care. By the time Zenobia turned 18, she'd been accepted to 3 colleges with scholarships. "I want to come back after college and help expand our restaurants," she said. 5 years after Demetrius threw us out, we owned 2 restaurants with thriving catering. We were financially secure beyond imagination. "You know what I think about," Mama said one evening. "Demetrius thought he was punishing us, but really, he set us free." She was right. We had proof we didn't need him, that we were better off without him. 15 years had passed since that horrible night. My daughters were now grown women, about to give me what I thought would be the biggest surprise of my life. It was my 53rd birthday. The girls had called that morning saying they'd be over in the evening with a surprise. I was preparing dinner when I heard multiple cars pull up. Through the window, I saw my 4 daughters, each with a handsome man I'd never seen. "Mama!" Zenobia called. "We brought special guests." My heart raced as I opened the door. "Girls, who are these gentlemen?" Zenobia stepped forward, eyes sparkling. "Mama, meet my fiancé, Dr. Oberyn Caspian." "You're what?" Calliope bounced forward. "My fiancé, Attorney Lysander Pierce." Azalea glowed. "My fiancé, Dr. Evander Vella." Serafina beamed. "My fiancé, Engineer Dashiell Mercer." "We've been engaged for months," Zenobia laughed. "We wanted to surprise you on your birthday. We want a joint ceremony, all of us, same day, 8 months from now. And we want you, Grandma and Miss Linnea, to walk us down the aisle." I started crying tears of joy. After everything we'd been through, my daughters had found love with men who cherished them. 8 months later, the wedding day arrived. It was supposed to be the happiest day of our lives. The venue overlooking Buffalo Bayou was decorated perfectly. 400 guests filled the seats. My daughters looked absolutely radiant in their wedding dresses. An hour before the ceremony, security informed us that Demetrius had shown up demanding entry. My daughters had him removed without hesitation. "He gave up the right to be here 15 years ago," Zenobia said firmly. The ceremony began. Mama took Zenobia's arm. I took Calliope's. Linnea took Azalea's. Serafina walked alone. The music played. We started down the aisle. Everything was perfect. Absolutely perfect. And then I heard it. A sound that didn't belong. A sharp crack that echoed through the venue. Then another and another. Screams erupted. Chaos exploded around us. Demetrius had returned. He'd brought a gun. He was shouting something about his daughters disrespecting him, about being humiliated, about how if he couldn't be part of their happiness, no one would be. I watched in absolute horror as my daughter Zenobia, my brave, brilliant Zenobia, collapsed. Then Calliope. Then Azalea. Then Serafina. All 4 of my daughters, shot by their own father in a rage-fueled rampage on what should have been the happiest day of their lives. Security tackled Demetrius. Someone was screaming. I realized it was me. I ran to my daughters. Blood, so much blood. Mama, Zenobia whispered, her hand reaching for mine. I'm sorry, we should have let him come. No, baby, no. Don't talk. Help is coming. You're going to be okay. But I knew. Deep in my soul, I knew. Calliope was already gone, her eyes staring at nothing. Azalia was gasping for breath, her hand clutched by Lysander, who was sobbing. Serafina was unconscious, Dashiell desperately trying to stop the bleeding. The paramedics arrived, but it was too late for all of them. By the time we reached the hospital, all 4 of my daughters were dead. All 4. Gone in an instant because their father, the man who had thrown them away for not being sons, couldn't bear to see them happy without him. The days after the shooting are a blur of grief so profound I can barely breathe. 4 funerals, 4 caskets, 4 daughters who would never become wives, never become mothers, never fulfill the brilliant futures they'd worked so hard to build. Mama died 3 weeks later. The doctors said it was a heart attack, but I know the truth. She died of a broken heart. She couldn't survive losing all 4 of her grandbabies. Lena tried to be strong for me, but I could see the light had gone out of her eyes too. We'd built something beautiful together, and it had all been destroyed in seconds. Demetrius was arrested and charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder. During his trial, he showed no remorse. He said his daughters had humiliated him by excluding him from their wedding, that they had disrespected him, that they deserved what they got for choosing their mother over their father. The jury convicted him in less than 2 hours. He was sentenced to death. But what justice is that? He took 4 lives, 5 if you count Mama. He destroyed countless others. And now I'm supposed to find comfort in the fact that he'll eventually die by lethal injection? There is no comfort. There is no peace. There is only an endless void where my daughters used to be. I tried to keep the restaurant going. Linnea tried to help. But every corner of that place held memories of my girls. Zenobia at the register, greeting customers with her bright smile. Calliope welcoming people with her warm personality. Azalia arranging food displays with her artistic eye. Serafina in the kitchen, tweaking recipes to perfection. 3 months after their deaths, I closed the restaurants. I couldn't do it anymore. The business we'd built together, our symbol of triumph over adversity, had become a tomb of shattered dreams. Linnea understood. She didn't try to change my mind. She just held me while I sobbed. The 4 fiancés, Oberyn, Lysander, Evander, and Dashiell, were destroyed. These men who were supposed to build lives with my daughters were left with nothing but grief and what-ifs. Oberyn left Houston entirely, unable to practice medicine in the hospital where he'd planned to work alongside Zenobia. Lysander threw himself into his civil rights work with a desperate intensity, as if fighting for justice for others could somehow make up for the justice Calliope never got. Evander quit emergency medicine. He said he couldn't save strangers when he couldn't save the woman he loved. Dashiell designed a memorial garden for the girls, but he told me he'd never design another building. I was supposed to design a home for Serafina and me, he said, crying. Now all I can design are memorials for the dead. 2 years have passed since that terrible day. I'm 55 years old, and I feel ancient, hollow, a shell of who I used to be. Linnea does her best to check on me, but I can see the worry in her eyes. I barely eat, I barely sleep, I barely zixt. I visit their graves every day. 4 headstones in a row, each bearing the name of a daughter who should still be here, living, loving, thriving. Yesterday, I received news that made everything even more unbearable, if that's even possible. Celestine, Demetrius's wife, called me. Through tears, she told me about Maximus, Demetrius's only biological son. He'd been arrested for armed robbery. During the crime, someone died. Imani, Celestine sobbed. I'm so sorry for everything, for taking your place, for those boys, for what Demetrius did. If I could go back, but we can't go back. That's the cruelest part of tragedy. We can't undo it. We can't rewind time. We can only live with the consequences. Demetrius had thrown away 4 daughters because they weren't sons. He'd murdered them because they didn't need him, and the son he'd valued above all else had become a killer, just like his father. The irony is bitter, poisonous. Today, I went to the venue where my daughters were supposed to get married, the place where they died instead. I stood in the exact spot where we'd started walking down the aisle, where everything was still perfect, where my daughters were still alive. I could almost hear their laughter, almost feel their hugs, almost believe they were still here. But they're not. They're gone, forever. And I'm left here, living in a world that no longer makes sense. A world where good people suffer and dreams die violently. A world where a father can murder his own children and destroy everything beautiful they'd built. People tell me that time heals all wounds. They tell me my daughters would want me to be happy. They tell me I should focus on the good memories. But they're wrong. Time doesn't heal this kind of wound. It just teaches you to breathe around the pain. And the good memories? They're knives that twist in my chest every single day, reminding me of everything I've lost. My daughters didn't get to become wives. They didn't get to become mothers. They didn't get to fulfill the incredible potential they'd worked so hard to achieve. They were stolen from this world by a man who created them but never truly loved them, a man who valued his pride over their lives. We built something beautiful. The Three Women's Kitchen, our little family, our triumph over adversity. We proved that women supporting women could create miracles. But in the end, one man with a gun destroyed it all in seconds. That's the truth about tragedy. It doesn't care about your strength. It doesn't care about your resilience. It doesn't care about happy endings or justice or fairness. Sometimes evil wins. Sometimes good people die. Sometimes there is no silver lining, no lesson learned, no redemption arc. Sometimes there's just loss. Profound, devastating, irreversible loss. I'm sharing this story not to inspire you, but to warn you, to tell you the truth that no one wants to hear. Life is fragile. Love is fragile. Everything you build can be destroyed in an instant by forces beyond your control. Hug your children. Tell them you love them. Protect them with everything you have. Because I did all of that. I fought for my daughters. I built them a good life. I taught them to be strong and confident and successful. And they still died, violently, senselessly, on what should have been the happiest day of their lives. If you've made it this far in my story, I don't want you to subscribe or like or share. I want you to go call someone you love right now. Tell them they matter. Because tomorrow isn't promised. Happy endings aren't guaranteed. And sometimes the people who hurt you most are the ones who created you. My name is Imani Okafor. I survived being thrown out by my husband. I survived poverty. I survived building a business from nothing. But I didn't survive losing all 4 of my daughters. I'm still here, still breathing, but I died that day too. And this is where my story ends. Not with triumph, not with justice, not with hope, just with grief. Endless, unbearable grief. And the haunting question that torments me every single day. What was the point of any of it? What was the point of surviving, of building, of fighting, if it all ends like this? There is no point. There is no meaning. There's just the memory of 4 beautiful girls who deserved so much better than the father who created them and the fate that destroyed them. This is my story. This is my truth. And it doesn't have a happy ending. Goodbye.